Okay, folks, we are back again, playing some Elite Dangerous tonight. And if you just let me get situated, what we're going to do tonight is we are going to take a look at and go through some of the basic concepts and ideas and equipment that you need to get set to do some exploring. I know we spent a lot of time last week talking about mining. Figured we'd hit some of the other major things um, that there are to do in the game, especially for you new players. This will help. Um, we'll go through the equipment, show you a little bit about using the star map, the galaxy map. I'm not going to go too deep into that because that's something you just kind of have to get used to using. But I can tell you a little bit about it. Um, we'll find some systems, hopefully undiscovered, that we can go out and scan. There's a couple of different scanners you use to do that. If I can find an example of ground targets, there's geological and sometimes biological targets on planets, on landable planets that you can go down and scan or check out with your SRV. That'll be a little interesting. If I can find one of those, I'll try and show you that. And show you what happens when you bring your discoveries back in and cache them in. So with that in mind, just to set the scene, I'm going to take a quick look at our galaxy map. What I did just to make things a little bit easier for this demo, I got my biggest, fastest, longest jump range explorer ship, and I staged it in a good starting location. So if you look over here, this is the bubble around Earth. This is where most of my ships are currently parked, except for my small fleet out in Colonia. My explorer ship was in the middle of this, so what I did is I hopped in my explorer ship, and it's got a really long jump range, so it was only about 16 or so jumps to get out here to a little outpost on the edge of the California Nebula. And the reason I did that is because further away from the bubble, you're more likely to find undiscovered systems. So I wanted to stage someplace where I didn't have to do so many jumps to try and find an undiscovered system. We can do most of the demo with discovered systems, but I'd like you to see what it looks like when you find something new. So I staged out here, so again, won't be as far, as a lot of the stuff closer into the bubble has already been picked over. We're out here. My ship has a long jump range. Won't take me long to come out a little bit into an area where we're much more likely to find undiscovered systems. You don't have to have a really top-of-the-line exploration ship to get something out of exploring. You don't have to have fully optimized jump range. I'm using my best exploration ship just to make it easy to get around and get out to where it's not exploring. You could do this with a ship with a fairly short jump range. You might be limited to how far out you can get before you lose patience, but that's not the most critical thing. It does help to have a long jump range because you'll be able to jump across large gaps, and you'll be able to get far away from the bubble quickly, but you can still explore with small jump range. If you're going around in a high jump range ship, you're missing a lot of star systems in the middle that you could have interesting things to check out. So, with that said, we'll take a look at the ship. Unfortunately, this outpost all the way out here doesn't have a shipyard, so it's going to be a little harder to show you my ship's equipment. So we'll come out here and just look at our modules. What I'm flying right now, actually before we even do that, what I'm flying right now, if you can see, is an Anaconda. It's a big ship, but it's rigged for exploration. Again, I really maximize the jump range on this thing. It's fairly heavily engineered. You don't have to go that far to get started exploring. You just have to get out, get just enough jump range to get out away from the bubble a little bit and start racking up some discoveries. So we go back in. Anaconda is one of those ships that can mount a really big frameshift drive. Has a lot of slots, so it's very easy to optimize for long jump range. And I use this as my long range explorer. Um, I have another ship with a much shorter jump range that I used for a lot more local exploration as well. But this is my primary one because usually if I want to go out exploring, I usually will go out for long periods of times, go out really far, try to get to like the edge of the galaxy or someplace really interesting, stay out a while, come back and cash in a lot of money. So let's look at what I've got here. You'll notice I've got, at least what you can see, I've got a lot of D-rated modules in here. Basically anything that's not really essential. You want to make lightweight if you want to optimize your jump range. Again, you don't have to worry about that too much. And I'm not going to go too far into what it takes to configure a ship, because a lot of this doesn't matter. The most important thing you have is your frameshift drive. And I've got a nice, fairly big frameshift drive. It's A-rated, and I've got it engineered like crazy. Because again, this is a long-range explorer. A planetary vehicle hangar, that's a good one to carry because you're going to want to have an SRV so you can, if you find a planet that you want to roll around, or if you need to collect materials, or if you find a geological or biological target that you want to scan that's on the ground, you're going to want to have a SRV to tool around with. Most of this stuff, Supercruise Assist Power Distributors, is mostly engineered for lightweight, which optimizes jump range. Again, don't worry about that too much starting out. My frameshift drive is engineered for maximum range, and it's the biggest frameshift drive. One thing I did that you can do with the Anaconda, and I actually didn't go as far as I could. If you notice my power plant, I've only got a 4A power plant in this thing. That's a very small power plant, considering the size of ship this is. You could even push that even smaller, but that's where you can save a lot of weight if you're really interested in min-maxing. I do have some cargo racks in here because I had empty slots that I wasn't using. I have a fairly big fuel scoop. That's a must-have, because you're going to see, even though I don't put extra fuel tanks on my exploration ships just because the extra weight of the fuel cuts into your jump range too much, more than I'm comfortable with. But even if you can only jump like 5 or 6 systems before needing to refuel, or before running out of fuel, if you have a big heat sink and a long jump range, you can always find a place to refuel. So I've got some cargo capacity, so I can carry cargo when I'm not out exploring. You will notice I've got auto field maintenance units, and I've got 2 of them. That's because if you're going to go out for a long period of time, you're going to eventually get tired and accidentally smack into a star's exclusion zone, take a little damage. Maybe you'll use excuse me. Maybe you'll use neutron star boosts to get further jumps, to do extended long-range jumps with neutron star boost. That always causes some damage to your frameshift drive. You're going to want a field maintenance unit to be able to repair that, to do those small repairs on the fly. I have 2 of them because, well, I have the spaces for it, and the only thing that a field maintenance unit can't repair is itself. When you have 2 of them, yeah, you can repair that. You notice I do have a Guardian frameshift drive booster. I'm not going to go into all the details of that. It just makes you jump further. It's something that you're going to want to look into if you eventually want to build a really long-range explorer. Thrusters don't matter so much. I have D-rated thrusters just to save on weight. They're engineered to save on weight. I probably could get away with smaller thrusters than this, save even more weight, get a little more range, but I stayed with what I felt comfortable with. For exploration, something that's really optional is a shield generator. If you're confident that you can land on a station without bumping into the walls as you go, make planetary landings, especially in high gravity planets, without bumping yourself too much, you could skip the shield generator. If you notice, I put a really small shield generator for such a big ship in here. It's because I just wanted to have just enough shields so that if I choose to do a landing when I'm 20,000 light years from home, if I want to try a planetary landing and I screw up and bump it, that's enough shields to be forgiving, and I won't have to worry about really taking damage. One thing I probably should have on this ship that I don't have right now is a repair limpet controller. That's the only thing you have that can repair your hull if it gets damaged. You may rack up small amounts of hull damage, so if you're gonna do things like be out exploring for long periods of time, you may want to consider having that in there. Generally, if you're paying attention and you're not accidentally bouncing into stars too much when you come out of hyperspace, you won't rack up much hull damage ever. So it's optional. If you can put one on, you can. Again, the main things you need is a frameshift drive, the fuel scoop. Those are the most important things you need. The other important thing you need, well, you do need sensors. Note they're D-rated. This version of the sensors is not as important. This is the sensors you use for combat. Not important at all for an explorer. The ones you really need, at least not having good sensors, you do have to have sensors. The ones you do need, though, are down here, if I can get in position. Every ship now comes with a discovery scanner that includes the FSS mode, which you use to do detailed scans on planets. Every ship also comes with a composition scanner and a data link scanner. Composition scanner you will use. Data link scanner you probably won't. You will need to use a slot for a detailed surface scanner. This is a must-have. When you will use this to... There's several different levels of scanning you can do. If you just do a honk on your discovery scanner as you're passing through a system, you'll get a count of how many planets are in a system. No real details about that. If you go and use the FSS mode to scan all the individual planets and signal sources and asteroid clusters and whatnot in a system, you'll get higher value for your discovery data that you're collecting. And if you find some planets that are really worth it, you can go in and use your detailed surface scanner to give them a third level of scan. And again, the more data when you get this third level of data, you'll get a higher payout for discovering that that particular planet or body. As you saw in the mining demo, detailed surface scanner is also what you use to scan and find hotspots in ring systems for mining. And again, if you're doing a combination explorer and mining ship, then yeah, you're gonna definitely need this. Generally, I'll use my detailed surface scanner on the most high-value planets that I find, and not necessarily every planet. Some just aren't worth it. We'll take a look at some of that. You'll notice I don't have any weapons on this ship. That's kind of irrelevant for... Weapons are irrelevant for exploration. You can carry them if you want. That's fine. As many people have their exploration ships, they explore and they do other things with it too. In this case, this thing just explores and does cargo. And that's about it. So I have no weapons. For optional gear, I like to have a heatsink launcher just in case. I rarely use it, but it's nice to have. And I always like to have a point defense turret, just if I'm running cargo to take out limpet controllers or missiles or whatever somebody's shooting at me. That comes in handy when you're grinding for your if you go for your Guardian frameshift drive booster. Having a point defense turret on your ship actually helps because there's a little cheat you can do where you can park your ship close enough to the site that your point defense turrets can help cover you while you're collecting materials, but that's a story for another time. So again, what we're going to do, we're going to basically go out. I'm just going to pick a star system that I think is a little distant from where we are, set a course for it, and just keep going in that direction until we start finding systems that are undiscovered. We'll go through all the scanners along the way. If I can find a planet that has, if I happen on a planet that has ground targets, such as geological anomalies or biological signals to check out, we'll go check out one of those and see what we can find. There's also notable stellar phenomena. Those are signal sources out in space. You can scan them. It's usually some sort of weird object floating in space, like certain types of gas clouds, crystal formations, things like that. It's very unlikely I'm going to run into one of those, so I doubt I'll get a chance to see you. So, main thing you're going to need to do when you're exploring is spend a lot of time on your galaxy map setting courses. So we're going to go into our galaxy map again. I'm going to zoom out a bit so you see we're here in the California Nebula, just a little bit more or less south of the bubble. This is about 16 jumps for my ship, and again, this is a very optimized ship, so I can jump 72 light years at a time. If you're just starting out, if you can get a ship that can jump, say, 30, 35 light years at a time, you'll do just fine. You can do it even with less. 30, 35 gives you a lot of flexibility. You can go almost anywhere in the galaxy, except for the really the most sparse places out at the fringes of the galaxy you'll have trouble with. Most people, once they get on their feet and can get a good specialized explorer ship like an ASP Explorer or a Diamondback Explorer, they'll get into like usually in the 50s, with with a little bit of work and a little bit of engineering. More than that, if you go out to the Guardian sites and grind for materials for your frameshift drive booster. So I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to pick a spot over somewhere out this way. You can see from my bookmarks that I've been out to most of the major nebulas of this area. I've actually crisscrossed this area several times, so there's an off chance that we might find something that I've already explored. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to see if I can target this little nebula over here that I've never been to, if there's a star in it. See, when you zoom in too much, it doesn't move around. You're not covering as much distance when you go up and down. So let's see. This is Trifid of the North Nebula. I've never been there before. So let's see. Doesn't look like there's any stars really in it, except there's stars close to it, so I'll pick something close to it. I'm going to check my map one more time. Just it's an off chance there may be a station near there. So let's go take a look, see if there's any civilization there. Nope, I don't see any stars. Okay. Alright, so that was just on the off chance. A lot of the nebulas near the bubble will have small mining outposts or exploration stations or whatnot. There'll be a small station in one of the nearby stars, kind of like the one that I'm in right now in the California Nebula. So let's see. I've never been to this nebula before. Don't really know the area. I'm sure it's close to the nebula. Other people have been there before. But I'm going to pick this star here that's real close to it. Looks like there's a nice stream of stars over here, but I'm sure somewhere, I'm sure along the path between where I am and this new nebula that I haven't been to before, we'll find something interesting. We'll find we'll probably find a target that I have in a system that hasn't been discovered yet by anyone. So as many people play this game, and as long as they've been playing this game, really it's only a small percentage, very small percentage of the galaxy, not even a full percent, that's been explored. So there's lots of systems out here without people's names on them. Just that the ones that have been discovered tend to be clustered along the paths that most people travel all the time. So sometimes you can be going around for a while and you'll feel like you're not finding any new discoveries. That's because, well, you're traveling along lines that everybody's gone over. So that's about so that we just set our course. Took a little while to calculate because it was a little distant, and you see we're about 1,500 light years away from this site. If I zoom out, you'll see we'll be going south and down more towards the bottom of the galaxy. You see along our path, it's outlining all the jumps we're making, and again, I've got a fairly long jump range, so I don't think we're going to make it all the way out there tonight. But if I find something close, if I find some unexplored stars closer in, then I'll be able to actually turn around, land them at a station, and I'll show you what it looks like when you turn in exploration data as well. So if you look, very important to note on your map is fuel status. Let's see if I can zoom into a point where you can see it easily. If you notice, we've got a solid line showing our course up to this point where it's marked with a little marker that says fuel star, and then after that it's a dashed line. That shows you how far you can get on your current tank of fuel, and that's the last star that you're going to get to along that path where you can actually use your fuel scoop before you run out of fuel. So if you get to here, you haven't scooped any fuel from any stars, you're going to run out of gas. So you want to keep an eye on that. So you know if you get to the end, you're going to want to scoop fuel. Now, any star that's of certain types, that's what they call the main sequence stars, type K, type G, B, F, O, A, or M. Remember the acronym KGB foam, are stars that you can scoop. Any other stars you won't be able to scoop fuel from. So if you look at one thing you can do here is you can look at your map, filter by star class, and you can see the last time I used this filter I was looking for I was actually looking for neutron stars. So if we come up here, O, B, A, F, G, K, M, that's K, G, B, F, O, A, M. There's lots of other mnemonics to remember them by. That's the one I always remembered, KGB foam. It's also the first set of 7 stars on this list. So if you look, this is filtering out, so it's just lighting up the stars that are. I'm kind of zoomed out a bit here, so it's hard to see. It's just lighting up the stars where you can scoop fuel at. So you'll probably note there'll probably be some point along our route where we'll run into stars that are not scoopable. It's a little hard to see without moving this around too much. So we'll just have to watch out for that. Because I don't have a very well. I have a good-sized fuel tank, but my ship goes through a lot of fuel because of the large jump range. So I'm doing large jumps; they consume a lot of fuel. So I do have to keep an eye on my fuel, or you'll get stranded. You don't want that. You can always call the fuel rats for help. They're a good bunch of guys. They will come and, if you get stuck, you can reach out to them on their website. They'll come out and they'll send somebody out with some fuel limpets and bring you fuel and get you back to nature, get you back to civilization. Um, Again, if you have a fuel scoop though and you're paying attention, there's no excuse for that. You should never run out of fuel. So we're going to have to pay attention to what stars we can fuel scoop at, and you'll see as I start going through and jumping from system to system, any scoopable star, you're going to at least have a little bit of time to you're going to end up scooping at least part of your fuel tank, refueling yourself partially at basically at any star you stop at that's scoopable. So now we've got our course set. We can take off and head out. So basically what we're going to do, every system we jump, I'm going to do maybe 2 or 3 jumps before I start scanning things, just because close to the nebula, close to this is a popular location, so close to the nebula I know I'm going to be running into systems that have already been scanned by everybody. But once we get 2 or 3 jumps out, I should start seeing something more interesting. We'll jump into a system. Basically, if it's a scoopable star, as we start scooping fuel to top off, or at least partially refill our fuel tank, we'll do the basic discovery scan, see how many stars are in the system. Then we'll want to pull a little bit away from the star, and I'll show you why when we get there. Basically, we'll come to 0 throttle. We'll use our FSS scanner to reveal and figure out what all the planets in the system are. Excuse me. And if we see something interesting, we'll use our detailed surface scanner to do a deeper scan. Excuse me. So the value of the discovery data you get, what'll happen is as you make discoveries, as you scan things,
Ship coupling disengaged. Be wary of traffic on your way out.
As you scan things, you'll be accumulating discovery data. When you land at a station again that has a stellar cartography, which is almost every station, this guy is swerving towards me. All right, just about every station has a stellar. Oops. All right, how embarrassing. That's why I have light shields, in case I bump into something. That's what I get for talking while I'm piloting. I scraped again. That's okay, I scraped my hull a little bit. But we're not going to go that far. So you'll see, where was I? Yeah, as you scan systems, there's no real way to look at how much you've accumulated while you're out exploring. But every system you scan,
Starcon looks forward to receiving you again.
Every planet you scan with your FSS scanner or do a detailed surface scan will start to accumulate discovery data in your ship's computer. When you land at a station with stellar cartography, finally, at the end of your journey, you can sell this data for money. And how much money you get depends on the type of body you scan. Different stars have different ranges of values. You'll get a bonus if you're the first person to discover something. Different types of planets have different values. The most valuable planets are, of course, Earth-like worlds, especially if they're in a terraformable Earth-like world, which means they're at the range away from the star where they can support human life. So you'll get the most for them. So basically, I'll go through, I'll scan a lot of systems down to that second level with the FSS scanner, but I'll look for mostly Earth-like worlds, another type of planet called ammonia worlds, or anything interesting. There's also high metal content worlds that tend to be worth a lot, but I don't always surface scan them because they're fairly common. You'll see what I mean as we go through it. So let's start. I'm just gonna do 2 quick jumps, and then we'll actually look at where we are. As chances are these first couple of systems have been run through many times. The neat thing is, if you're the first person to discover a system or a specific planet within a system, what'll happen when you turn your discovery data in for the first time and you get your payment for it, if you're the first person to have discovered any of those objects, your name will show up on it when the next person comes along and scans it. But you won't get your name on it until you've excuse me, until you've actually turned in that data. So if you notice here, I came out of hyperspace near the star. It's a scoopable star, so the time it took me to get around the star to point at the next target, I actually topped off my tanks. Before we do that, I'm going to do a basic discovery scan on this system. You see there's 20 bodies in this system. Oh, we'll take a quick look at this one. I know somebody's already seen this one before. So right now, if we look at the system map, somebody's already been through and scanned it. That's why everything's already revealed. Normally, at this stage, you wouldn't have all the planets revealed. And if you look at the star, it's got the name of the person who first discovered the star. Each of the planets has the person who first discovered it. And then the second one is first mapped. Mapped is when you do a detailed surface scan of it. So to get your name in both slots, you will have to be the first person here. You'll have to have done a discovery scan. Discovery scan will get you the star. To get the planets, you have to use that FSS scanner, which we'll see in a little bit. And to get the first mapped, you have to do the detailed surface scan. So you can see, same person went through most of these. I generally, if I'm trying to go for distance and get far out, I'll skip mapping most of the planets in the system, and I'll only map something if it's really high value. I may not even do the FSS scan on every star system I come across if I want to get distance and be out a long time. But you can see this system is pretty close to the nebula. It's been scanned by lots of people. If something's already discovered, you can still go through and do all the scans on it, and you'll still get a payout for it. You just won't get as much as if you're the first one there. So that's really what you want to do. Is you really want to get out, and so you can start earning money by rescanning systems that people have already visited. But if you really want to explore and you really want to get your name on some discoveries, you want to go out to where people haven't been yet. So anyway, without too much, I'm gonna make the next. I'm gonna do another jump or two, and I'll start looking to see if the systems are. I'll at least do the basic discovery scan. We'll start taking a look and see if we find a system that hasn't been discovered for once I get another 1 or 2 jumps out. Skim close to the star, top off my fuel tanks, and you see how much fuel I'm eating up. You'll note my fuel indicator on the bottom right the white part of the bar is how much fuel you're going to consume on your next jump. And if you look at the star I'm pointing to, this is 65 light years away, so that's a big jump. And like I've been saying all along, you don't have to have a ship that can jump that far to explore. But it is nice to have if you want to get far out there. Let's see, I'm not gonna, this system is still probably a little too close to the nebula. So I'll take another jump out. Then we'll take a look and check to see if anyone else has been in this system before.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, let's start scooping. If you're flying past the star, just slow down a little bit. Up a little bit. Scoop, you'll fill. If you have a small scoop, you have to wait a little bit, and you should watch your heat while you're scooping, because your heat will continue to go up as you're back close to the star, and well, you don't want to overheat too much. So that's another way you can end up taking some unnecessary hull damage or have to do repairs on the fly. If you're far from home, you know, you're going to have to rely on your field maintenance unit, and if you have repair limpets, rely on that and nothing else. So name of the game is just minimize the amount of damage you take from things like heat or bumping into stars or or not paying attention and bumping into the side of the mail slot as you're leaving the station. So let's take a look at the map, system map. Let's see about this one. Yeah, this has somebody else's name on it, so I'm still gonna go.
Frameshift drive charging.
We'll try another 2 jumps, then we'll check again. One thing that I do think is a little bit of a weakness about discoveries, about exploration, is you really can't see a list of the systems and planets you're getting discovery data for while you're flying, while you're in your ship, or until you get back and actually turn that data in. You can't really get a list of. If you use the third-party site EDSM, and you use it regularly, when that site gets, when you upload the feed of places you visited to that site, that can give you a really rough estimate of what the value of the systems that you visited are. That estimate is usually way off. And it doesn't necessarily know exactly if you really are the first person to discover something. It can tell you that you're the first EDSM user who's seen it, not necessarily the first player in the game that's been to a system. I'm just going to go ahead and jump the next system. I'll pop off my discovery scanner while my frameshift drive is charging. As you can see, that honk with the, as they call it, with the discovery scanner, that just tells me how many bodies are in this, how many astronomical bodies are in the system. It doesn't get you. You'll get some token amount of cash for that when you turn it in. So there's never a reason to not use it. Hopefully we start running into undiscovered systems, and I can show you all the different types of scanners on it. Let's see. Let's go into the system map. This one looks like it's already, yep, this has already been discovered. Alright, I'm just going to do like another 2 or 3 jumps.
Fuel scooping.
This area is a little bit more picked over than I bargained for. Anyway, it's still not far from the bubble. This is not all that uncommon an area to be at because it's near some nebulas.
Frameshift
But I
drive
guarantee you we
charging.
are going to start finding some systems that nobody's discovered in the next couple of jumps.
Four, three, two, one.
Start scooping and scanning. Just get around the star and then I'll check the map. You'll notice on the top right it was a message that said enter FSS mode to check discoveries. Now I don't remember what FSS stands for, but that's the next level of your scanners. So let's take a look at that system map. We're still in the range where we're still in common territory.
Charging. Ready to engage. 4, 3, 2, 1. Engage. Fuel scooping.
Okay, let's see this one.
Fuel scooping complete.
So let's go to this one. It's the same person that was in the last system. One of the problems you'll find is that if you get along a track that other people commonly fly, and it's somebody who has a similar jump range to yours, to your ship, you're going to hit a lot of the same systems that that person did. So sometimes you gotta... I'm probably passing by undiscovered systems.
Frameshift drive charging.
So whoever it is that whose footsteps I'm following in probably made the same journey from the California nebula to that smaller nebula that I found. So what we'll do, if I'm not finding pristine systems, I guarantee we will eventually. As soon as I find a system that's something interesting to scan, I'll start showing you the other scanners.
Fuel scooping.
So this system, yep, somebody's been here.
Fuel scooping complete.
Look like the system might have had some water worlds, which are good. Which are also water worlds are also very valuable systems. I usually try to surface scan those when I come across them.
Charging. Four, three, two,
So it does take a little patience to get out away from, to get out off the beaten path and get somewhere where there's undiscovered systems. If I don't start seeing them soon, though, I may go a little off track, and I may go just a couple of stars off track and recalculate my path.
Fuel scooping. Fuel scoop disengaged.
This is actually still a well-discovered area of space. So what we're going to do, I'm going to go to my galaxy map here. And I'm just going to go back in. Let me try that again. I got a little too far off track. I'm going to try and find something that's... this is where I am right now. So the map is a little tedious to navigate sometimes. So what we'll do here, I'm going to see if I can find a system kind of off the direct line there. It's still within jump range. See, this system is 40 away, so if I just mark that, it's still going to keep my final destination in mind, but I'm going to go one jump out of the way to try and get off this more beaten path where a lot of people have traveled. So I assume I'm striking out just because several people have probably gone back and forth over this route a couple of times. So yeah, when it comes to the map, you just kind of want to get away from paths where other people have been, and then kind of, if you want to visit a nebula, make your way to one of those nebulas. But I may have to jump, one or two star systems away from this route that I've been taking, and then I'll recalculate my course, and we should be able to start scanning things. Like I said, I can start scanning things right now, but I definitely want to make sure I show you a brand new system that's been unexplored. So I haven't scanned this yet. This is looking good. This is looking good. There's hardly any... Oh, somebody's actually been to this system before. Yep. Do go back to the galaxy map. I'm actually going to pick a different point of interest. So what I'm going to do is going to recalculate my path to here. Well, let's try it. On a slightly different course than I was before, so...
Frameshift drive charging.
Sometimes all you have to do to get into unexplored territory is go a couple of systems off of your current course.
3, 2,
then replot. We'll see. We'll see. This is not all that far from the bubble, so it may take a few more tries before we get out into unexplored territory. But I really do want to show you what an unexplored system looks like when you get it.
System scan complete. Fuel scooping.
System scan complete. That means this system is just a star and nothing else.
Disengaged.
So not much interesting there anyway. And somebody else has been to that. Scanning the star, basically, as soon as you point your nose at the star and your sensors see it, that counts as scanning the star. Alright, let's see what we get in the next system.
Fuel scooping.
System map. Somebody's been at this one before too. Of course, they're giving me a hard
Fuel
time.
scoop disengaged.
Alright, well let's go through the whole routine now, because this system is not too big. So first thing you do is you honk on your discovery scanner. It reveals there's 11 bodies in the system. Now I'm going to just hit the throttle a little bit, get a little bit of distance from the sun, because when we use the next scanner, if you're too close to the sun, it's going to block out part of the system. Cause problems. That should be about a few seconds. You know, a few seconds at full throttle is usually enough to get you far away from the sun. Now we're going to go into FSS mode. When the FSS scanner first came out, there was no default key binding for it on the stick, so the way I stuck with the key binding I came up with, which is different than the default. And when I changed ships, it didn't. When I changed ships, it also reset my controls. So, give me a second. That should be it. Full Spectrum System Scanner is what FSS stands for. There's a bunch of different controls in there. It's not under here, it's under a mode shift. Just want to make sure that it's saved. Mode switches. Enter FSS mode. Okay, for some reason it reset it to defaults. Okay. You can use the default settings. I just like I said, when that sensor first came out, there was no default for turning it on. So you had to come up with your own key binding for it, and then later on they added a default for it because everybody complained about it. I don't remember what that default was. I remember what I set it as. So here we go. So now you're in your FSS scanner. You notice you've got this bar on the bottom with a bunch of waves in different signal bands. So what you want to do is, oh wow, this really reset everything. Sometimes when you change ships, or some of the updates will reset some of your controls. So I know my FSS scanner They've obviously reset some of the controls because I like a little bit. I like this bar to be this tuning bar to be a little bit less sensitive. So if you notice, these squiggles mark where various bodies are, so you kind of put your marker there, and you can see in the bottom right that's a metal-rich body. In this area in here, those are high metal content worlds, which have some value. And this one is a rocky ice world. The high metal content worlds are worth. They're kind of valuable. Some of them can be very valuable. Most of them are moderate value, so I usually don't scan them all the way. But if you look, as I go close to one of these, you see little arrows will appear as I go close to those glowing blue signal sources that I see. When you get over them, if you get a solid circle, that means your tuning band down here is in the right place. If you notice, if I move away, if I tune off of that one, it turns into a dotted circle, which means I'm close but not quite there. If I move further away, it'll just disappear. The arrows kind of point you at the direction of a signal source, but you have to be close to it on your tuner here. So if we go here, in the range of our high metal content worlds, well, I know that's going to be a high metal content world there. We hit zoom, and we get all the way in. There's our planet. Tells you a lot of information about it. Shows you the picture, tells you the type, how far away from it you are. In the top right, it tells you what kind of resources you could find if you had the patience to go down there in your SRV and search for materials. In that same box, you have your features tab. Features are, though there's no features. If there was ground targets there, they would show up in that box. And you've got your astronomical data below that. Tells you how many Earth masses the planet is, what its radius is, what the gravity is, surface temperature, what it's made out of, all that good stuff. It's probably more information than you really want. So when you're happy with that information, you can zoom out, and you're going to want to do this for every single planet. You notice there's a count up there in your top right, says the number of signals detected and the number of bodies detected. We may not see it in this system, but you will see it. Sometimes you have to zoom several times because there'll be if there's a bunch of planets clustered together in your view, you'll zoom in once to get to the point where you can see the individual planets. Maybe zoom in again. You'll see how that works as we go. Come in here, another high metal content world. No special features. That gets us our second level scan on that planet. So basically you go through this for every planet till you've scanned the whole system. Sometimes you have to search around a bit for them. Usually what will happen is you see the orbit lines for the planets you have discovered. Usually most of the planets will be somewhere along that path. Now you notice this one, we see the glowing pulsing dot indicating that there is something there. Our scanner has the little pointers pointing at it, but it's not lit up yet. That means I'm tuned in the wrong place. So we got to see, maybe it's this way. Nope. If we come over here, so that's so now we got a lot we can tell for our bottom right. That's our rocky ice world. We come in, there it is, and it's got a nice little ring system on it. No special features on this one. Icy bodies are usually the least valuable things out there, and they're very common. So let's go. We have to tune a little bit to get this one to show. That's a high metal content world. You're going to see, if you're going to explore a lot, you're going to want to tune some of these settings a little bit. Like I'm probably going to go in and adjust the sensitivity on the tuning that I do on the filtered spectral analysis bar at the bottom. You can't tell as I'm moving it as I'm moving the tuning bar around. It's kind of hard to land it where I want because it's a little too sensitive. So I like to decrease the sensitivity on that. I'll show you where that is in the settings real quick once I get through this system. Alright, this one we've got something interesting. Notice we've got a high metal content world, but in the upper right under features it's doing a refining scan, so there's a geological target in there. So this may take like a minute to go through. So these can be a little can take a little patience because they slow you down. But we see we've got 6 geological targets on this system. They're probably geysers of some type. That's something that we can scan with a composition scanner. So I'm gonna mark this system, select the system, and we'll come back to it because we can go down and check that system, check those items out. Let me zoom out. It's another planet. And you're going to want to get comfortable with using this mode so that you can do this quickly, because it can take up a lot of time it can take up a lot more time than you bargained for to scan a whole system.
System scan complete.
And it can slow you down if you're trying to take a long trip or if you want to get there at a certain point. So now we marked and selected that planet that had the geological target, so we can exit out of this mode, and you can see we're selected onto that planet already. So we'll go over there towards that planet. We'll do a surface scan on it. Then we'll go down and we'll check out the ground targets. Unfortunately, I won't get first discovery for this system, but I will get credits for it. This is a good system because I can actually show you most of the things that I want to show you. So after this, we'll just go through and do some exploration in general, and you'll see some of the other quirks of it as we go, and hopefully we'll get at least one system that hasn't been explored before. So you can use Super Cruise Assist if you want, but generally if you just keep your throttle in the blue zone, we'll be able to stop. Since we're going to do a detailed surface scan on this thing, which will reveal the ground targets, those geological sites that we mentioned. We don't have to get too close, we just have to get close enough for the surface scanner to be in range. You can see the bottom left of my HUD. Oops, I'm going to slip by it because I was talking too much. And I'm doing the loop of shame. You see the bottom right, it says surface scanner out of range. So we got to get it to the point where that changes to in range, and not too far out, and overshoot it by too much. I'm going to close in. That'll change from out of range to too fast. At that point, then I can, like it just did. I like to get a little bit closer. Actually, I'm going to swing around to the day side of the planet so you can see it a little better. You can't be going too fast to use the surface scanner. So you notice as I change speeds, as I slow down, it activates. As I speed up a little bit, it goes into too fast. Let's come around this way. You don't have to be right on top of the planet to use it. Be reasonably close. So we'll come over here. This is probably closer than you need to be. Would have rather gotten all the way around the day side. You can see even though my throttle is zeroed out, you're still moving a little bit because you're still in Super Cruise mode. Now we're going to go into our surface scanner mode, what your surface scanner does is it actually fires probes at your system, at your planet, and when those probes get to the surface of the planet, they'll cover a certain radius, and what you want to do is get enough of these probes positioned around the planet to cover, well, close to all of it. So I'm going to put one right in the middle. See how that works. And you'll see it'll show you how much it covers the system, and the system, how much it covers the planet. And that'll give you an idea of how many more you're going to need. So the blue part is the part that my probe was able to cover. You got to cover front and back. You can toggle one of the buttons to show you the front and the back of the system. So the back of the planet. If you notice in the bottom right, it says efficiency target 7 probes, 1 impacted. That means you'll get a little bit of a bonus if you can cover the whole planet in 7 probes, or 1 impacted means you've already used 1. So what you can do is you can come out this way. You see that little mark? That tells you if I fire it right at that mark, that's going to hit it. That means the probe's going to hit right on the horizon. So if I want to lob a probe around to the dark side of the planet, I can either move the ship side and do it, or you can kind of come a little past that mark, that horizon mark, and fire your probe, and it should curve around as the planet's gravity takes it, and it should hit on the far side. And if we toggle our view to the far side, we can watch where it hits. Okay, and you can see I've got now 40% coverage on this planet. This side I'm going to go a little bit past the horizon again. So if you're confident of your shooting, you can shoot these off one after the other. You don't have to wait for one to impact. So now we're over 50%. If I look on the back, you see that's where I'm missing most of it. So I'm going to put one around here. This is the front of the planet. This is the back of the planet. I'm hoping to land it right about here to get best coverage. We'll see where it ends up hitting. Now remember, I'm looking at the back of the planet, so this probe is actually going around to the far side of the planet and then crashing, and I got it pretty much exactly where I wanted to. So you're up to 73%. I believe if you get up to 90% of the planet, it gives you the credit for it. So we're going to throw our next one. And you got to kind of flip back and forth between front view and back view to see where you want to throw. We'll come out to about here. The more you do this, the more you'll get used to to landing these. Planet this size, most average size planets, if you do, you should be able to get it in like 5 or 6 hits. This is actually a little bit bigger. This planet's a little bit bigger than I thought. I've actually got 5 hits so far, and we're at 87%, so I don't need much more. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put one about here, right on the horizon. You don't have to get it to 100%, but you do have to get it up to about 90%. And this should put me right where I need to be. So we got our surface scans completed. We used 7 or fewer probes, so we got our efficiency bonus. And now our notable signals, our notable geological signals, should now be revealed. So we'll come out and you see I've got a geological signal there. That's the planet itself. One there. One there. The ones in dotted lines are on the back side. This one is on the front side. I'm actually going to see if I can pick one on the day side of the planet. Well, now that we've done our surface scan, if you look here on your navigation pane, those geological signals are going to show up here as well, so you can select them and fly right to them. I'm going to try and go to that one since that's on the... you notice the number next to it, that's the number of objects there. So that's a fairly high number. It really doesn't matter. It's usually going to be this. It's going to be the same type of target at every to scan at every location on a given planet. Just means there's more of them, so it'll be more interesting. And I'm really picking this one because it's on the day side of the planet, so it'll be easier to see what's going on. You do have your night vision option. So if you're trying to land on the night side of the planet, you're going to want to probably use that. We're going to go in close. The options we have, if you're confident in your piloting and you have it set up, you can, if you have it set up in a fire group, yeah, I do. It's just not sure. I just don't have my hard points deployed, so you can't see it. You can use your composition scanner from your ship on one of these targets, but it can be a little tricky to do that because they may be in a place that's not easy for your ship to get to. You'll have to hover pretty close to them, and it's going to be a small target, so it's going to be hard to keep the. It's going to be hard to stay on target with it long enough for you to scan it. But you can also go down in your SRV, check it out, and scan, and use your composition scanner on your SRV. So this is a discovering, scanning objects like this will get a discovery in your codex, which I'll show you once we get there. These you can actually see how much money you'll get. It's not a lot of money, so I generally don't do it unless it's a biological signal, which tends to be worth more because that's a living object. It's usually some sort of plant life. It's more notable, and your name will show up on it in the codex possibly. So we're going to come in for a landing. You're going to have to do a planetary landing. If you're good at hovering your ship close to things, you can use the composition scanner on your ship and save yourself a little time. We'll go down and we'll use our SRV just for the fun of it. So I want to try and glide as close as I can to this signal as I can, just to save time. If I come out of glide mode too far, it's going to take a while to get there. Let's see how close I can get to it. And it's not always worth the amount of time it's going to take you to get to these things. I really don't think you get enough money for these kind of discoveries. So we'll have to see. So we're about 25 clicked out, so that's not too bad. We'll do a couple of boosts to get there. As we get closer, you'll see the geological signals. They're always some type of geyser. The type of geyser will depend on the type of planet. Sometimes it'll be lava. Sometimes it'll be ice of some sort. We can can't scan these things. The target spot may jump around a little bit as we get close to it. What it is it's actually a field of it'll be a whole field where there'll be a bunch of geysers covering an area. You can scan any single one of them; they'll all be the same. So we'll just have to get close enough to where we can land and take out our SRV. You can kind of already sort of see them. You can kind of see the plumes down there. So we're pretty close. We are pretty close. Those other little dots coming up there, they're part of the same system too. If you notice, I do have a comp scanner in there. You have to get really close in order to use it, so I'm just gonna put my gear down. Well, maybe I'll show you how close before I go in and land. See, this is about as far as you can be away, but it's really hard to come to a stop at that range and keep the circle on target that long. I could scan it right now from here, so I'm actually in a pretty good spot. If I just hold down the comp scanner, and I'll get credit for it. Actually, it's useful as an example. So you got to keep it on target a couple of seconds. There we go. 2,500 credits, Codex Discovery voucher gained. So if you look over here in our Transactions tab, you'll get your Codex discoveries. I'm going to wait until I land. I'll show you how you do this for the SRV too. Just got to find a flat enough place to land. I do suggest if you can do it from your ship, you might want to just to save time. But if you want an up close look, and it's kind of cool to do it for the SRV. Again, it's not always worth it for the credits, but sometimes, you know, if you're on your 500th jump and you're getting bored and you just want to get out of the ship, this is the way you do it. So, yep. So I need to switch to my comp scanner. So we'll go over drive. This field of geysers. We can drive around in it. You see the target there. That's a crystalline cluster. One thing you can do is these are good places to farm for materials. So I can show you that in a second too. I'm going to pick one of these. If you can drive up to it so that your target is on one of the formations, great. Otherwise, you can use your turret, which is usually a little bit easier to deal with. And you can scan it the same way, and it tells you what it is. You can go to your, oops, press the wrong button there.
Drive assist off. Drive assist on.
All right, I can't find the control to do it. But if we come over here, let's see. If we come over here, if we look in our codex, if you really want to find it, you can drill down your codex to where it is. I always forget the hotkey for it. It'll be the one marked with a... Here we go. It's one of these in here. You don't always get your name on it unless you get some sort of record. But we found a where is it? Yeah, it was one of these. So you can see all the different types. Types in here. If you get you'll get a confirmed if somebody else discovered it first. The first person to find it gets their name on it. Obviously, somebody else has visited this system before, so it's not me. But that's a little cool. The codex is it's a little annoying to get around in, but if you really want to go and look and see what kind of discoveries, you can look around this and find, this will show you all the different stuff you can find. This is organic or biological things. They tend to be worth a little bit more. And you can look in there and see the values of all the various stars and things like that. If you want to get an idea how much discovery data various bodies are worth, the easiest way to do that, if you go on the Frontier forums and just search for it, there's a chart or an infographic out there that shows all the different types of planets and their approximate values. So we've scanned, again, you only have to scan one of these geysers. You've scanned one, you've scanned them all. The first time you scan it, you see here you get your credit. You can turn this in when you turn in your discovery data. Again, it's only 2,500 credits. That's almost nothing. It's almost not worth the time. But if you want to break up the monotony and do something interesting, this is a cool thing you can do. So now, if you notice, there's a couple of white targets on your scanner. So let's see.
Cargo scoop deployed.
No, not cargo scoop yet. Well, I'll leave the cargo scoop open. There we go. We've got to go into combat mode. We're going to find one of these targets. And show you what these do. You can collect at these locations. There's always some type of materials you can collect. It's easier to do it with your turret. You can scan these things. I don't really think you get anything for it. No, you don't get anything for it if you scan it. So if I go to combat mode here, I point at this crystalline cluster. There's various different types of things like this. You just fire a couple of shots at it until it gets knocked off. And you can select it again. You'll see it's a material tin. So now my cargo scoop's open so I can go drive over and pick that up. Just so happens that I actually need tin for some of the engineering that I'm doing on one of my other ships. Just when they're right next to something, sometimes it's a little tricky to pick up. So again, you'll find there'll be a bunch of these around in areas like this. So if you're looking for materials, these are good. These geological sites are good areas to hunt for materials. Let's see. See if I can get it. All right, need a better angle on that one. Oh, that's in a weird place. That one's like... Oh, I see. There's two of them there. That's why I can't. That's a Pisceus Cobble, it's called. So that's now something called needle crystals. Oh, that's targeting the one up there. There we go. Iron, okay. Iron is always useful. Iron is something you'll use to synthesize things like limpets if you need them while you're far out, different types of ammunition. Sometimes, or if you have to do reloads for your field maintenance unit. Polonium's another. That's actually a hard to find material. So you can spend some time at these and collect up some materials after you scanned it. It's not always worth it, but again, if you're hunting for rare materials, good chance of finding them here. We'll just do one more and then we'll pack it up, and I'll just try and explore. Like I said, I don't always stop for these sites because they're not always worth it. But if you're hunting for materials, it's worthwhile. Come on. Just have to come at it from a different angle because it's right next to the rock. Come on. Nickel. There we go, got it. I always forget the controls for the SRV are a little bit different than the ones for your ship. I always forget where some of them are, so sometimes I have to go to the menus. Anyway, with that done, let's go back to the ship, put the SRV away, and continue on our journey. So you can see this can take up a bit of time. In the same time, we could have explored a couple more, scanned a few more systems, which is where you're really going to make more money. So if you're looking to min-max, you probably don't want to stop and do this very often, but it is there as a feature that you can do. It does break up the monotony if you're out for a while and you just want to do something different.
Landing gear retracted.
Alright, and off we go. The other part that's a little time consuming is you have to spend time to get away from the planet as well.
Frameshift drive charging. 4, 3, 2, 1. Engage.
Okay, so let's go back to our navigation pane. Like I said, there's a bunch of different geological signals on this planet. They're all going to have the same stuff. You're not going to get anything new from them. The only reason to scan more than one of them would be if you really, really want to collect materials and just spend a lot of time going around to them, but it's really not worth it. Let's get back on course. Reselect our next system in line. When I get a little bit more distance, I'll be able to jump to it. And I'm just going to go through and I'm going to try and scan a couple of systems and hopefully find one that hasn't been discovered before. I'd like to show you one that has ring planets with lots of moons. Then when you're doing the FSS scan, you have to zoom in multiple times because it'll basically pick up the. Generally, the scanner will tend to see the gas giant and its system's moons as one target at first. Then when you zoom in, you'll see the one level. You'll see all the various targets. Let me get back into
Fuel scooping.
discovery mode here. While I'm refueling, do the discovery scanner.
Fuel scooping complete.
Going to start lining up on our next system. I'm going to get a little distance. This system has 8 bodies. That's not a whole lot, so get a little distance, slow down. Go into our FSS scanner. This has definitely already been scanned. I almost guarantee you this has been previously scanned by somebody. So let's look around. Want to look for those glowing targets. There's one. I'm not quite tuned to it. That's an icy body, no special features. That's another icy body. As you get the touch for how this scanner works, you get good at. Here's an example. See that's a double ring. That means we have to zoom in. There's multiple targets at that spot, and we're gonna have to zoom in again. So we zoom in again, and it breaks out those targets. So here's one of them. A high metal content world. And they're usually semi-valuable. This is another high metal content world. I've got 2 more targets here. Here we go. It's an icy body. And, you know what, this is annoying me. I'm going to have to fix this now. I go into my controls one more time and fix the sensitivity on this a little bit, because that's a little annoying. I do have all this set, but it seems like sometimes some of the updates or some of the or sometimes when you change ships, these controls sometimes get reset. So I'm going to reduce the tuning sensitivity a little bit, so I don't feel like I'm overshooting. That's a comfort thing. There we go. So now that needle on the tuning bar doesn't move as fast. It's going to be a little bit easier to stop it exactly where I want it.
System scan complete.
There we go. No special features on any of these. I'm not going to really bother to do a detailed surface scan on any of them. So I don't see anything particularly high value in that system. Taking a drink to keep my throat lubricated so I don't cough in your ear like I was doing before. Oh, this system has 16 planets. Take a quick look at the system map.
Fuel scooping complete.
Yep, someone's been here before. So they've been to this, somebody's so we did a mapping on that system. You'll also notice in this little info pane, it tells you how far in light seconds from the star it is, or from your jump point. If we look down here at these, these are like 224 light seconds away. So somebody spent a good 20 minutes super cruising out to these. Well, not 20 minutes, a good like 5 or 10 minutes super cruising out to these to go and scan them. Again, if I'm trying to cover a lot of distance while exploring, I'll skip things that are this far away. If I really want to get my name on the whole system, or if there's something really interesting out that far, then I'll go do it. Again, let's get a little distance from the star. We'll go through the FSS scan on this one again, because this is a more complex binary system. So you kind of have to, you find a spot and you kind of have to feel around with the tuner until you get your hit. There's something in here. There we go. Again, you can have multiple levels of zoom. You see them. This is a water world. Water worlds are usually worth a good amount. Normally, I would. This one's very far away. Normally, if I found one that wasn't this far away, I'd go and surface scan it. But that is one of the water worlds. It's over 200,000 light seconds away. That's going to take, like I said, it's probably going to take like 5 or 10 minutes to get out that far. So I'll just be happy with the FSS scan. It's not like I'm the first one discovering it. It's here we go. And if you notice, if I don't see any special features on a planet or a moon, I just move past it. I don't wait for it. I don't wait for it. As soon as I get the scan, I move on. Yeah, after you do this a few dozen times, you'll start to get efficient at it, and you'll move through it quickly. You do have to be kind of right on the target in order to zoom in. See, sometimes they don't show up as, the marks don't show up as brightly, especially if it's a distant target. There's something in here. There we go. This is a high metal content world. It's got some geological features. I'm not going to take the time to go scan them right now because I've already shown you that. But you get the idea that we could. Oh, another water world. This one's not very distant, so I'll mark that one. We'll go. See, this one's only 995 light seconds away. So this will only take like a minute to get to. Water worlds are usually worth doing a surface scan on, and whoever got here first already did that too. I'm sorry, that's not a. Yeah, that is a water world. Okay, misreading my. Now, again. We find it here on the navigation pane. We can always use Super Cruise Assist to get us close. I don't like to let Super Cruise Assist take me all the way in, so I'll turn it off when we get close. Because it'll put me in orbit, which is a little too close for the surface scanner. So you see, this one's not that far. So when I find higher value planets like water worlds, or especially Earth-like worlds, or ammonia worlds, those I'll usually take the time to stop and do a surface scan on. The more of those you get, the more money you make. So now, if you're exploring and you really want to get to just get to a certain area, like if you're trying to get to a known nebula or something, you may not want to fully scan a system. You may want to scan it enough that you're happy with what's there. You may take a peek and see that, oh, there's not really anything valuable here, so I'm just going to move on. Or you may just do your basic discovery scan and blow past it. I'm going to turn off my Super Cruise Assist now. Just close it manually. I can even scan it out at this distance, but I like to get a little bit closer, like about here is usually pretty comfortable. Turn on our surface scanner. And you see this one wants, for efficiency target, 7 probes. So we're going to go, I'm going to use a typical pattern that I usually use that almost always works. You put one right in the middle. You put one on the horizon in 3 points, roughly equally spaced, or 4 if it's a larger planet. And then I got to shoot one around the back, and that should do it. This works for most like Earth-ish sized planets or smaller moons. Gas giants is really no good way to do it because they're just too big. So here we're at 69%. Look at the backside. I want to try and hit the middle of the backside. So I'm just going to guesstimate where that is. If I get that anywhere remotely in the middle of that dark spot, we'll be in good shape and should have enough. I overshot it a little bit. Not quite good enough, so I'm going to ease over here a little bit. That should land about there. Put my mark on it, see how far off you get. And these things take a little practice. If I had hit that one like right in the middle, I'd probably be done with this planet already. There we go. That should do it.
Surface scan complete.
Alright. You can't land on water world, so there's nothing else to see. That's basically it. I'm not really going to look at any of the other targets because they're either too far away, and I don't feel like doing that right now. Or just somebody else has already really claimed them, so I'm not getting top dollar for the system anyway.
Frameshift drive charging.
I don't know if you notice we're about 15 jumps away from that little nebula. We may just get out that far. I'll see if I can do a speed run back in.
Fuel scooping.
Let's see if this one's already been discovered or not.
Fuel scooping complete.
Somebody's been out to this system too. Alright, I'm just going to give this one we'll scan and get out of Dodge. I'm just going to give that one a basic discovery scan and get out of here. One trick if you're stuck in a place that's already been picked over by discoverers, one trick you can do is just change course and go either straight down or straight up in the galaxy, in a couple of hundred light years in one direction or the other. You'll probably get into a spot that's not as well traveled. Basically what it looks like is I'm on a lane between a couple of nebulas that people like to visit.
Scan complete. Fuel scooping complete.
Looking at this one's, yep. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. I'm gonna go down. Zoom in. I'm gonna pick a star down here, set a course for that. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Accidentally yanked my headphone cord out. Let's see, it's still calculating. Yep, it's still calculating a route. Sometimes it takes a few minutes. Sometimes it takes a minute or two to calculate a route, even though it's not very far. It's only 283 light years. There's really only a couple of jumps out of the way. I just want to get us out of this lane that it seems that a lot of ships have been through. Get us out into unexplored territory. Here we go. That's really only 5 jumps.
Frameshift drive charging.
The galaxy is a very big place. There's lots and lots of, there's tons of places that have never been explored before. Only problem is that most of the places you're gonna try to go at first are places that people have already been to. So you do kind of have to try and get off the beaten path. There was one run when I was out near Colonia where I just found like a string of like a dozen neutron stars.
Fuel scoop disengaged.
Let's see, we'll do our basic discovery scan.
System scan complete.
There's not much in this system, but I'm just gonna eyeball it and see if somebody's been to this one too.
Frameshift drive charging.
Definitely have to get off the beaten path. Really, I can show you everything that I can show you with Discovery without without being the first to discover a system. But it would be nice to to be able to show you getting your name in the system for the first time.
Complete. Fuel scooping. Frameshift drive charging.
I'm not even going to look. I'm going to wait until I get...
Fuel
Oh,
scoop
1 second. I
disengaged.
cancel that. A little too close to the star.
Frameshift drive
So it's starting to
charging.
overheat.
Four, three, two, one.
Scan this one. You know what? I'll take a look at this one. 7 bodies isn't too much to scan. Somebody's already been at this one.
Fuel scooping complete.
Well, this is a small system and looks like nobody's done a full detailed mapping on this one, which is a good sign. Means I'm starting to get out of well-traveled places. So whoever last time someone came to this system was probably before they changed the discovery system to where you could do your detailed surface scanner.
Frameshift drive charging. Four, three, two.
And this is not my knife. That's the second time I've managed to get my headphone cord caught and yank it out. Got a feeling I'm getting closer to an area that's not explored yet. Nice big white star.
Fuel scooping. Fuel scoop disengaged.
A quick look. Somebody's been at this, but they still haven't. They still haven't really done any detailed surface scanning. It's probably been a long time since anybody's come out this way.
Frameshift drive charging.
Alright, this is that last system that I took myself out to.
Four, three, two, one.
Okay, and this is that star, random star that I picked to get to.
Fuel
That's in
scoop
the system.
disengaged.
I bet you it's already been touched. Yep, somebody's been out this one too. Well, since we did get here, let me get a little distance, and then I'll at least do a scan on the system. If you really want to maximize your data, you want to do this, at least an FSS scan on on every system you touch. But again, if you actually want to get somewhere or have to do something specific in time, you may not want to put in that amount of time. Don't worry about it. There's plenty other you'll have plenty of other opportunities to scan systems. You're not really missing out if you skip a system. If you really want to make money, though, you can go on the Frontier forums and look for Road to Riches. That's a list of known systems that are high value. It'll get you a lot of data. So basically, I'm not even sure how many there are, but somebody calculated it out enough so that if you explore all those systems, you do you scan all the higher value planets in them, and you go through you run through this entire list of systems. It'll take you on a nice little trek around the galaxy. You'll see some sights. You'll see a lot of different. You'll see almost every different type of planet there is. You'll see systems with huge numbers of planets and moons. You'll see smaller ones with weird things like neutron stars and black holes. Systems with lots of stars and such. I'm going to select this system. We'll go close to it and surface scan at least one planet in this system. But yeah, the Road to Riches line, if you do the whole thing, you should come away with enough discovery data to buy yourself a really nice ship afterwards. A lot of people recommend doing that for newer players that want to get into exploring, but want to get up enough money to get into the upper tier ships. If you look up the Road to Riches, those are all systems that obviously lots of people have visited before, so you're not going to get you're probably not going to get a lot of new discoveries out of that trip, but you'll get a lot of money out of it. I'm just going to pull up to this planet. We're going to hit it with the surface scanner, just because when I looked at the system map, this is one of the systems. It's been scanned before at the FSS level, but it hasn't been scanned with the detailed surface scanner. So if I scan at least one planet, when I go back in, you'll at least see what it looks like when you get a new discovery. And if I actually bookmark this, so we can come back and look at it, your name doesn't always show up right away, so we'll have to see. And of course I'm talking and I'm overshooting the system again. It's one of the problems since I came out with Super Cruise Assist. Sometimes we rely on it a little bit too much. I've gotten a little sloppy. Because that's a nice little crutch to have to not manually slow down all the time. I don't even have... one of the tricks is you keybind one of your buttons to 75% throttle. When you get about this far from the planet, you hit it, and it'll take you in at a nice speed. You won't overshoot. I like it to be close enough so it's bigger than the targeting circle. About that much. Slow down. This is a small planet. The efficiency target is 4 probes. I'm going to try and do it in less than that. Excuse me. I'm still a good distance away. So let's see how much Whoops. That's about 36% of it, so I'm going to try and do this in 2 probes. Probably not going to be able to do it in 2 probes. Probably going to have to do a third. That was about the best. That was about the best shot I could hope for, and it came up a little bit short. But if I put him right on the edge, almost anywhere, it should. Right on the horizon, rather. It should be enough to get it to work. Get it over the limit, rather. Oh, not quite. I do have to hit it with the 4th one. And we'll do one at the north end, one at the south end of the planet. There we go.
Surface scan complete.
And that was still with an efficiency bonus. So you notice it says first discovered by. That means that person did the equivalent of an FSS scanner. Probably the last time somebody was here, that meant that they honked the system. Instead of using this detailed surface scanner with the probes, what you used to do is you used to have to target the planet, point your nose at it, and get close enough to get close enough to it to be in sensor range, and then it would take a few seconds, depending how far away you are from the planet, to do a surface scan. That is, assuming that you had a surface scanner on board. It changed to be very different now, so they use these tools, so it's almost mini games. In some ways it's more interesting, in some ways it's more annoying. So let's see, I don't have any targets selected. What I will do real quick is bookmark this planet so I can go back and look for it, because that one should get my name on it as the first person to map it. So now let's go into the galaxy map. I'm going to try... at least start heading back towards our home base. I'll pick another star out here. We'll see if this if I find any undiscovered ones along this track. I'm sure there are, but then again, remember, I'm skipping close to 70 light years every time I jump. So I may be missing one. So we're not going to get to see that nebula. That's okay.
Frameshift drive charging.
But I'm going to start heading back towards the general direction of the station that I came from. So if we discover something new along that route, okay. When we get to this star, then I'll head back in.
3, 2, 1,
and land all this discovery data.
Fuel scooping. System scan complete. disengaged.
Here, take a look. First discovered by someone named Validating. I've seen that name before. Somebody wandered around this area looking for things to explore too. You see, this is why a lot of explorers like to get really far away from from Earth when they go exploring. There's this region this region has a lot of nebulas, so a lot of people have visited them. So you tend to get stuck in these areas where people have been before.
Fuel scoop disengaged.
Yep, I may get disappointed. Now, I'm not going to scan every single system, so I've got a bunch of jumps to get to the star. But I will do a deeper scan on the system every couple of jumps, just to keep me honest. Well, we may have to land this without any real new discoveries. But we'll see.
Fuel scooping. Fuel scooping
It's an
complete.
interesting system.
Frameshift drive charging.
Go one more, maybe I'll scan the next one if it isn't too big. Well, this is basically exploration. You spend a lot of time jumping, a lot of time scanning, but every now and then you'll find something really interesting to park your ship in front of and take pictures of.
Fuel scooping. Fuel scoop disengaged.
Well, and I'm seeing the similar names show up around here, so somebody did a thorough sweep through this area.
Frameshift drive charging. Fuel scooping.
Slow down a little, make sure I scoop some fuel here. Oops,
Fuel
it's
scooping
star map,
complete.
not galaxy map. This system is all... Oh, there's a planet in this one. 21,000 light seconds. I'd be tempted to go out and scan that one, but that's kind of far. This planet is a bunch of stars and one big gas giant, so let's come out and look for it. Gas giants are all the way down towards this end. Fun part is going to be when it's systems this sparse is finding the target out in here. There it is.
System scan complete.
There we go. Class 2 gas giant. Alright, I'm not going to surface scan that one because, well, gas giants are actually very painful to do surface scans on. So you just got to hit them probe after probe after probe, and you got to shift positions, fly around to the other side. It can be kind of time consuming, and they're not really worth all that much value for your surface scan of them. Let go of my scanner trigger before scan went all the way through. Oh, there's nothing really here.
Fuel scooping complete.
When you get system scan complete immediately when you do your basic scan, that means that all that was in this system was just the stars.
Frameshift drive charging.
No planets or anything really useful to do a deeper scan on. Oh, this is a big system, 30 bodies. While we're scooping,
Fuel scoop
take a
disengaged.
quick look at the system map. Got some gas giants here. This system be a little bit painful to scan because it's got so many bodies in it. Let's see. We'll go a couple more jumps in this direction, and I'll set a course back for base.
Ready to engage. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Alright, let's see what my luck is on this system. 11 bodies is not so big. This one looks like it's worth scanning. Normally at this point you wouldn't be able to see all the bodies in your, if this was a brand new system that nobody had ever touched before, your basic discovery scan would tell you how many planets are in the system, but if you look in the system map you wouldn't see them yet until you go and do, oops, come on, throttle down, until you go and do this. And then it'll reveal the planets on your system map. Okay. I thought I saw a feature in that one for some reason. Alright. Mineral content, that's a moderately valuable target.
System scan complete.
Okay. Nothing special on any of these planets. Alright. Where am I? I'll take another look at the galaxy map. Let's see if I can... see where I am. Yeah, I'm gonna keep going this way. I got a feeling I'm not gonna get lucky with a untouched system today. This part of the galaxy is obviously much more traffic than I thought it was. It's been a while since I've been over this way. And just because I didn't come along this path doesn't mean that 1,000 other people haven't.
Fuel scoop disengaged.
Yep, somebody else has been to this one before.
System scan complete. Frameshift drive charging.
Seems starting to get sloppy. Down, make sure I scoop up lots of fuel. goodness, I really got to do a better job of paying attention. Okay, 9 planets, so it's not a very big system. I bet you somebody's already laid claim to it. Yeah, you can have them. Those are too far out.
Frameshift drive charging.
I should really stop worrying about who's discovered these.
Fuel scoop disengaged.
Okay, we'll go scan this one. Sorry about that, got distracted by something in the real world. So like I mentioned, the first time you go over, you find a target and you just kind of play around with the tuner until it reveals itself. So this little discovery minigame kind of keeps your hands busy. The nice thing about asteroid clusters is when you find one of it, it reveals all of them. You don't get any money for those, but for those asteroid clusters, but if this one's got a ringed planet, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a quick look at how you can use the surface scanner on a gas giant's rings. Alright, this one's got a geological feature. Again, we're not going to take our time to go and scan it, but let's see what it comes up with. Again, with everything, exploration takes patience, because when you find, when you get one of these scans, it does kind of take a minute for it to go through. There we go, 25 geological sites. Again, I already showed you what one of those looks like, so I'm not going to Not really going to go back and do it again.
System scan complete.
Alright, now we are going to go over to this gas giant. We'll do a discovery scan on its ring system. It's something I kind of showed you when I did my mining demo last week. But again, I was mining at a place that had already been mined. I had previously scanned it, so you didn't really get to see what happens to a ring the first time you ever scan it. It's a little distance away, but it's not too bad. You can already see the ring system even at this distance. Almost there. Gonna get a little bit closer. Do have to get in range at least. Okay. Looks like there's two sets of rings here. I think that should hit the inner one.
Surface scan complete.
And that one's got a, it's probably on the other side of the planet where I can't see it, but it looks like that revealed a hotspot.
Surface scan complete.
Okay, let's see. Oh, there it is. It's a tiny little hotspot right there. See, that's a benitoite hotspot. It's a very small one in there. But that's one of those mining hotspots, so that's what you do when you come up on a ring system for the first time. You hit it with your discovery scanner, then if it's got hotspots, it'll show them to you. And if you've got mining equipment, you can go mine to your heart's content.
Frameshift drive charging. Four, three, two, one.
going to go too crazy scanning these few systems. I think when I reach the destination star this time, I'm going to set course back to that station in the California Nebula, and I'll just try and jump there as fast as I can. Hopefully it's not too far away. Hopefully it's within a reasonable amount of jumps that I can do in a reasonable amount of time, so I can show you what it looks like to turn in your data.
Fuel scoop disengaged. System scan complete.
Got a couple more jumps to go before I get to my final.
Frameshift drive charging. Fuel scoop disengaged. Frameshift drive charging.
I'm going to go these last couple of jumps, and then I'll scan the system at the end, and we'll head back in.
4, 3, 2, 1.
At this point, I'm a little less concerned about getting more scans as I am about actually getting in, because I do want to get in and land at a starport before I have to sign off.
Fuel scooping.
Otherwise, I would likely be spending more time out here scanning things and getting more money. But I want to show you what it looks like when you turn that in.
Fuel scoop disengaged.
Again, it's going to take a little work to get there.
Drive charging. System scan complete.
Okay, system scan complete. It means there's actually nothing there that's worth scanning. Alright, this is where I originally, well, where I intended to end up on this leg of the journey at least. Take this time to scoop a little bit.
Fuel scoop disengaged.
Alright, I'm gonna pull away from the star a little bit. And let's go scan the system. There's a water world in the system somewhere. Alright, and not pass by these. And you see from this one you can zoom in 2-3 times in some cases, depending how the planets are clustered up. That's our water world, was the first one I found. And mark that one. Whoops. Dropped out of FSS mode by accident. You know, I'm not talking much while I do this. It's kind of the dull part about exploring. Usually if you're going to do a long exploration trip, you want to put on a movie or a YouTube video or something, or a podcast or something to keep you interested. And you just grind it out. Go.
System scan complete.
There we go. Now I've got that water world selected. So that's a little bit of a haul out there. Yeah, I think I'm actually going to skip it. It's a bit of a ways out there. 13,000 light seconds. It's going to take a little bit more time than I really want to do right now. Let's come back up here to California Nebula. There we go. More closer so I can see what's what. There we go. That's not too far away. It's only about 250 light years to go. We'll go select our station, plot a course to it. Give it a second to plot. Oh, it's taking a long time to plot a short route. That's the way it goes sometimes. Well, sometimes there's tricky things, like there might be a couple of stars that are really far apart. So it's trying to find a way around it. Once in a while a plot will fail. Well, this star is 250 light years away, but it may have to plot a more roundabout way of getting there if there's big distances between stars along the path. There we go, that's not too bad. That's only a few jumps. Well, I was a lot more confident that we'd find completely unexplored systems, but we still found enough to give you a little bit of everything here. So now this run of only four jumps, not bad. It's only 4 jumps. Maybe I will scan systems along the way. It seems like after the last update, the hyperspace animation seems to take longer than it used to.
Fuel scooping. System scan complete. Fuel scoop disengaged. Frameshift drive charging.
Alright, I said I was going to stop and scan that system, I really didn't.
4, 3, 2, Fuel scoop disengaged.
Big star system. That's a really big gas giant. Yeah, so he's even been out there. Alright. Don't really bother then. Even though that looks like a lot of good stuff in that system.
Frameshift drive charging.
We're gonna move on. Okay, we should be about 2 jumps away. That's the California Nebula that we're on our way to.
4, 3, 2, 1. System scan complete.
Remember, system scan complete when you do a discovery scan means there's nothing but those couple of stars to really look at. Oh, we've got this nice shot of the California Nebula. So what I'm going to do, before I do this last jump in, I'll do something interesting. This is an important part of exploration, is picture taking. So, where is it? It's over here somewhere. Yep. I'm going to turn our orbit lines off. Switch to external camera. Get this framed nicely. That's a nice little shot of the California Nebula. I'm going to keep this as a screenshot. There we go. Got a nice screenshot of the California Nebula. I'm going to turn my orbit lines back on. So useful in navigation. And we'll do our last jump. We'll land, turn our discovery data, and take a look at how much we get. Again, I didn't scan a lot of systems on this run, and this was not a particularly long run. I've gone out for months at a time.
3, 2, 1.
Last long discovery trip that I did like that, I came back with a couple of 100 million in discovery data. Okay, and this is our target system. You see I already got our station selected. So I'm going to come here, turn on Super Cruise Assist. We got a nice view of the nebula from here, in here. This nebula is a nice backdrop. So we are coming in for our landing. This will be the mining station that we started out in. Hey, what are you doing? Okay, not sure why why the station's running away from me so much. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna head around to the other side.
Please submit a request to STARCOM before docking.
We're back in its civilization.
Approval granted. You are cleared on pad 3-2.
Oops, accidentally opened by hard points. Not that I have anything in them. Swing around. Oops. Didn't show
Please
me.
restrict your speed while in and around this facility.
Scan
Confirming
detected.
docking cancellation.
What's going on here? It's not showing me what docking bay. There we go.
Request approved. Make your way to landing pad 2.
Not sure why it wasn't showing me my landing pad there. Just kind of had to cancel dock and redo it. fun thing is if you do a really long exploration trip, where you may have been out in the unknown for weeks or months, the first
Continue on
time you
current
come
course,
back,
Commander. Landing area clear.
the first time you come back and try to dock, it's kind of scary because you haven't done it in so long. Gear down. Pad 24 is right ahead.
Landing gear deployed.
The worst part about landing after a long exploration trip where you haven't seen a station in a long, long time is that you forget what you forget silly things like when you're supposed to extend your landing gear. Alright, so we'll refuel, repair a little bit of damage,
Cleared to disembark.
and go into station services. But first we'll just real quick do our integrity. When I bumped myself against the wall leaving the station, I actually did a decent amount of damage there. And anyway, now to turn in our discovery data, there's actually two places we have to go. So, first I'll show you the Codex discoveries. They show up here, or at least your total for Codex discovery shows up here. This is that geyser that we scanned. To turn that in, you go over here to Contacts, your Authority Contact. All the way down at the bottom is your Codex discoveries. You turn them in here. That's a different place than where you turn in your scan data. For scan data, you come over here to Universal Cartographics. You stand by. It's going to think about it for a few minutes. This is all the discovery data we've accumulated. This page has 4.7 million credits worth of discoveries. If you scroll down, if you care to look, here's a system. We did a surface map on one planet of this system. Some higher value planets there. This one, we basically just did a simple scan on, and so forth. If you're really concerned, you can go in and check these, or you can just sell the page. You sell one page at a time. When you sell the page, it'll tell you if you got any bonuses for first time, for being the first discoverer. You go through this page of data, then it'll give you an opportunity to sell the next page. So far we're selling
Incoming message.
4.7 million. And that was about it. Incoming message. So when you turn in discovery data, that actually counts towards your reputation with the station's controlling faction. So I bumped all the way up to Allied from that. Actually, I think I was already friendly, so it's not as big a jump as it seems. So then this system's in the red because it's less than 20 light years away. If you're within 20 light years, you can't sell it. So we just sold our discovery data here. I'm curious to see. I'm going to go back to the. That's basically it. You saw that wasn't a particularly long trip, and I got about 4.5 million for a couple of hours work, and I wasn't particularly scanning a lot of things, and we weren't finding a lot of first-time discoveries, so we could have done better than that. If you come over here to the navigation pane, go into the galaxy map one more time. I'm not sure if it's going to show up. Not sure if that planet that I bookmarked is going to show up with our name on it. Where did it go? I lost track of it. Let's see it on the map. I may not have bookmarked it properly. Let's see if I remember what it was. Here it is. Okay, let's go into the system map. Not sure if my name's going to show up as first mapping for this planet or not. Yep, there it is. Okay, it did show up right away. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes discoveries it won't show up right after you turn them in. If you log out of the game, log back in, they might. But looks like that behavior is working. So you see, somebody else got first discovered. I got first mapped on this planet. So you see, as you become the first to discover something or the first to do a detailed surface scan on a planet, you'll get your name permanently on this map, and that's cross-platform. Somebody who's playing on, if you're playing on the PlayStation 4, somebody who's playing on PC will see your name on this system, on this, as the first mapper on this planet when they come to this system. Likewise, this is these names are from the entire player base, regardless what platform, whether they're on Xbox, PS4, PC, whatever other platforms the games are currently running on. So that's kind of a cool thing, is you as you discover stuff, your name is permanently on stuff. I know there's a nice long string of neutron stars out near Colonia that have my name all over them, which is kind of cool. So you may be flying around doing, coming through an area again to do some more exploration, and the coolest thing is you could eventually come across a system that you've been to before that has your name on it. So anyway, that was cool. At least I got to show you getting your name on something. Which is very cool. That's about all there is to exploration. There's not a whole lot more. You don't need a lot of equipment. Like I said, you don't even need a ship with a long jump range. Even though I covered a lot of territory, I skipped a lot of star systems in the middle. A ship with, say, 50 or 30 light years jump range would have hit more of those systems along the way, but it would have taken a lot more jumps to do what I did. If you really want to, you can carry weapons if you want to do fighting. You can have cargo racks if you want to also be able to carry cargo. Maybe you can even carry mining equipment. The first time when I first bought this Anaconda, I was actually intending to come out to all these nebulas that were not too far from Earth that have little mining stations on them. So I actually was carrying some mining equipment on this ship originally. Cut into my jump range a little, but I was able to do some mining while I was out at these stations. So I'd come out to like this nebula. If I stopped at this station, I'd take a few mining rush missions from it, and whatnot, and then move on. And then after that trip, that's when I really started optimizing it just for jump range. But you can do this you can do exploration in just about any ship. You probably will prefer one with a longer jump range, and if jump range is what you're after, the ships that are best at it is the Diamondback Explorer, the Asp Explorer, and the Anaconda. Python can be a good explorer too. Oh, and of course I'm forgetting just because I never used one for exploration. The Krait Phantom is also an excellent explorer too. You can get a nice long jump range out of it. If you really want to optimize your jump range, you want to do some engineering. You want to try and modify as many of your modules to be lightweight as possible. But anything related to jump range, you want to go the biggest, heaviest or not necessarily heaviest, but the biggest, most powerful you can get. And that's about it. And if you're really serious about it, you can look up how to get the parts you need for the Guardian frameshift drive booster from the Guardian Alien site, and that frameshift drive booster adds a lot more. I didn't get an opportunity to show you neutron star boosting. That'll be a topic for another time. I have several neutron stars bookmarked, so I can probably show you that at a different time. That's interesting to do. That's when having those field maintenance units really comes in handy, because you're going to basically be able to do a jump that's quadruple your normal jump range, but it's going to cause damage to your frameshift drive. And if you build up too much damage to your frameshift drive when you're hundreds of light years away from anywhere interesting, you run the risk of getting yourself stranded somewhere. So that's it for tonight. Thanks for watching. Maybe next week I'll pick another topic and give a little demonstration of it. If I can't think of anything by next week, then we'll just grab a ship and play around and have some fun. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time, and have a good night.